Kent ME40.
Welcome to Artifax. Coming up, a chance to see whether your hits really are hit when we reveal the results of the Artifax Jeans Top 10. Thanks if you wrote in with details of your favourite styles. Remember, you can do exactly the same if you'd like a fact sheet. Now, Helen, what have you lined up for us today?
Well, I've been all tied up this week, bringing old leggings and T-shirts back to life, and with looks that you'd just die for.
Now, Margot, you're the jet setter on the team. Which faraway city are you taking us to this week?
Oh, I've travelled miles this week, all the way to Halifax, where there's a great new museum called Eureka, and also Ollie's looking into the growing world of comics, and we've got the whole team who will be discussing whether or not they think pictures speak louder than words.
I don't think anyone speaks louder than that lot.
To some, they're just trashy and violent. To others, they're an art form in their own right. But whatever you think, comics are alive and well, living in your friendly neighbourhood. The big American publishers in the comic world are DC and Marvel, and in the right circles, some of their early editions are highly collectible. The man responsible for bringing cult comics to the masses is Duncan McAlpine.
Some of my favourite comics are the ones that we call from the Golden Age. This was from 1938 to about 1945, the end of the Second World War, and that's when all the major heroes came out, your Supermans, your Batmans, Wonder Woman, that kind of thing. And among my favourites, just on the wall here behind me, one of them is Action Comics #1, which was the very first appearance in 1938 of Superman. And Superman was created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, and he's now been around for 55 years and still going strong, although this year they're actually killing him off, would you believe? It's the death of Superman.
And where is the Batman?
Batman was created by Bob Kane, and in 1939 he went along to this exhibition of Leonardo da Vinci, paintings and drawings and designs, and he saw this design for famous Leonardo da Vinci flying machine. And underneath this design is Da Vinci's handwriting, which says something like, and your machine shall have no other wings than that of a bat. And, of course, Bob Kane thought, this is great. Batman. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's a nice story anyway. Batman #1 is quite an interesting one because there are probably about close to 1 million copies printed, but so many of them got destroyed during the Second World War. They could be worth anything up to £40,000. It's not the record holder. The actual record holder is Batman's first appearance in Detective Comics #27, and that recently sold at auction for $80,000.
But not all superheroes are American. Judge Dredd first appeared in the comic 2000 AD, back in 1976 AD. He featured alongside Dan Dare, but the punk movement was at its height, and old Dan was looking a bit crusty. Dredd, the lawman who was the law, was in the right place at the right time. David Bishop is the editor of Judge Dredd, the magazine. How does he get the judge to do what he wants?
Our major writer on Judge Dredd is John Wagner, who created Judge Dredd 15 years ago. So when it comes to Dredd, he's the expert. He knows everything there is to know about Dredd. He gives quite detailed panel descriptions for the artist to follow of what he actually wants. And this is the actual artwork, which is done by a Scottish artist called Colin MacNeil. Here we see what he's actually done with John's panel description. We then send the artwork and the script out to the letterer, which is the person who puts the word balloons on. And this is what we actually get back.
Richard and Alan, you're in charge of 2000 AD. What sort of message would you try to get across in the cover?
Generally, Dredd is a stern, no-nonsense, tough, gritty character, so we wouldn't have a shot of Dredd smiling on the cover or looking happy.
This is a cover in its natural state, as it were. We have to add on a lot more, obviously, the logo for the comic. And we have to add what we call cover lines, which are little bits of text, which hopefully again will grab people's attention.
And here's the finished cover. With copies of 2000 AD now reaching 100,000 sales per week, a film starring Mr. Schwarzenegger on the horizon, and a recent double billing with the Cape Crusade himself, the Judge, like the comic industry, is very big business indeed.
I think there's going to be a marriage between comics and films, and I think there's something like 150 comics characters already under option and under some sort of development. So I think your staple diet at the cinema for the next 5 or 10 years, whether you like it or not, is going to be comics.
So whether we see them as collector's items, ready-made Hollywood screenplays, or simply just a good read, the message is clear. Comics have finally forced us to take them seriously.
Stop the press.
Ollie, it's incredible to think that one comic alone could be worth 40,000.
Yeah.
Have you got any in your collection that are worth anything like that?
Well, I've got the complete collection of a comic called Revolver, but that's hardly surprising because there's only about 10 of them, and then they went bust.
Have you got any idea what they're worth?
Oh, I shouldn't imagine much at the moment, maybe in a few decades.
Do any of you lot collect comics? Are you into the whole idea of comics?
I think mostly it's sort of pressed on boys that read comics. Things like 2000 AD and things like that, boys read. I don't think girls read comics as much as boys do.
OK, girls, speak up yourselves. Do you like comics?
No.
Oh, unanimous.
No.
But what about, a lot of the characters, for instance, are being made into movies. Do they not appeal to you, some of the sort of superheroes?
Yeah, I enjoy some of the films that come from comics, much better than the comics. It's more action.
I think comics just like violence, little, cartoon men always having big bubbles with them fighting. That's all it is,
I
really.
think I disagree with that because bigger things, big sort of like book comics, don't have that at all. They have actually a storyline to them, and it's exactly like a book, but with the visual form. So it's a lot better, really.
I think the visual side actually makes it more appealing sometimes.
Yeah, in comics like 2000 AD especially, the artwork is just as important as the actual writing.
So what about the more classic comics? Are they popular?
Yeah, I think Beano and Dandy are much more popular. The girls that do read comics are more likely to read Beano and Dandy.
Do you think it's acceptable that some people read more, say, comics than books?
Well, I mean, it's up to them what they read, but personally I prefer to read books. It's not just all fantasy. You can choose a book on any subject that you want to read on, whereas comics are just sort of fantasy and violence, I think.
I disagree with that. I mean, it's easy to say that if you don't actually read many comics, but there's a massive amount of comics coming out that are educational and political, on subjects like Northern Ireland or the environment. There's a brilliant one called The Sandman. There's a whole variety of comics out now that haven't been around before.
Do you think comics then could be putting messages across?
Absolutely. There's no reason why a book can put a message across better than a comic.
So, OK then, if you don't read comics, what sort of magazines do you like?
Well, I like big and smash hits. I think because it sort of puts music and, sort of the pop world.
Just 17, definitely. I love the horoscopes.
Yeah. I like just 17 and more, anything that deals with, like, teenagers.
Great. Well, comics may not be for everyone, but if you're in your newsagent, why don't you look a bit harder, and there might just be one that appeals to you. OK, where's
coming up? But for now, from us all, goodbye. Now, back to those comics. No, I don't mean you lot.